Welcome to the GBU. Alright boys, welcome back to week 2. Last week, week 1. If you missed it, check it out in the top right hand corner. The result of the game was we won. We beat Obo. We just crushed him. It was really soul crusher. We tricked the Lagging Tail onto Revervroom on a play where I really probably should have been more fizzed up on my Clefable to guarantee live that hit no matter what. I had a 25% chance to die. I still like my odds. Regardless, we won, did not lose to Revervroom Jugu. Mainly Weavile actually got to show its stuff. And we're moving on into week 2 against Keegan and his Olympic Flygon, I think is how you pronounce it. Keegan's a cool guy. He's super funny and we've had a lot of banter recently. So I'm very excited for this match. Be sure to check him out in the top right hand corner and check out all of our amazing coaches down in the description below. And while you're down there, only about 50% of the people that watch my videos are subscribed. So if you are not already, go down there, man. Even if you think you are, go down there and subscribe. Help us on our goal to now 3,000. We passed 2,000 and I thank you guys so much for that. Keegan's a good battler. We played him in BBR, in which we beat him in a very similar style to what we're going to beat him this time. We are a bulky offensive team. In case you guys forgot, our team consists of Great Tusk, Clefable, Heatran, Rotom-Wash, Iron Jugulis, which is Terra Flying and Terra Poison, Snorlax, Weavile, Weezing, T, and Oricorio. And Keegan's team is pretty scary. However, he does unironically not have a fairy resist on his team that is not Swallout. It's Baxcalibur, Greninja, Iron Hands, Ting Lu, Screamtail, Serena, Gyarados, Ursaluna, Houndstone, Swallout, and Ampharos. And his Terra is going to be Flying and Electric on Gyarados. Keegan's team archetype is a little bit scarier for our team than Obo's in my opinion. The thing that really beats bulky offense is going to be things like Keegan's team, which are like very offensive teams that rely on hazard stack, and Keegan's team is extremely that. It has great hazard options in Ting Lu and Greninja, and then it has really strong Pokemon like Baxcalibur, Greninja, Iron Hands, Ursaluna. It is going to be a little difficult to try to maintain a way where we can win this game, but there are a couple of holes in Keegan's team that we are going to try to take advantage of. But before that, let's talk about Keegan's team, what I think he's going to bring and what I think does well. Baxcalibur is the first Pokemon on Keegan's team that does very well, and he is trying to get it banned. So he is going to be bringing it to every single game. I mean, we have a decent enough matchup against Baxcalibur, but Ice Stab in general is pretty scary for our walls. There are a ton of different sets that he could be. He could just be banded to mitigate the unaware Clefable. He could be Swords Dance with Scale Shot and Icicle Spear. He could be Dragon Dance with Scale Shot and Icicle Spear. I think those are really the 3 sets that I super expect. He could be Scarf as well, but I don't really see that coming. And he could be Roselli Berry. He could even be Weakness Policy, all things considered. So Bax is very scary for us. Besides Clefable, we do not have the best counterplay by any means. Weezing can kind of take some hits, I guess, and then we have Pokemon that outspeed him and don't allow him to set up, which is nice. But Bax can switch in pretty freely on a couple of different Pokemon, get a Dragon or Swords Dance up, or just be banded and do a ridiculous amount of damage to our entire team. Bax can get out of hand very, very quickly, and we have to play in a way to where that does not happen. Grin is going to be the next Pokemon that I think that Keegan is going to bring, and I think Greninja against the specific team that we are going to be bringing has the best matchup. It obviously has access to Battle Bond, which if you did not know is +1 attack, special attack, and speed this generation, 1-time use per battle, and then it also has access to Protein. I think both have a lot of usability in this matchup. I say that, but I think personally, if it were me bringing it, I would always bring Protein. And he does have very bad 4 move slot syndrome. There's 6 moves in my opinion that he really wants. It's going to be Gunk, Low Kick, Hydro / Surf, Dark Pulse, and he also wants Taunt and U-Turn. Life Orb is pretty obvious. He could also be Specs. Offensively, Grin just does a number to us. Houndstone is the 3rd Pokemon that I actually think will guarantee come. A fluffy defensive set. It can take on Great Tusk pretty well, and it's a pretty decent spin blocker. It has access to things like Will-O-Wisp, Body Press, it has Curse, it even has Play Rough. So Houndstone has a lot of mileage, I think, in this matchup, specifically against Great Tusk, and we're going to have to keep that in mind with the entirety of our team. And then next up, Gyarados. Gyarados guarantee comes. There's no question about it. I think if you don't bring your Terra Captain, unless it has the worst matchup of all time, which Gyarados certainly does not, then it's a little bit silly. I think he's going to be Terra Electric, though Terra Flying, just for the stab, does pretty well in this matchup. He could be something like DD. He could just be a bulky Rest Talk set for our Jugu, because Terra Electric will stop a Terra Flying Jugu, and otherwise he has no resists. So I think that would make a lot of sense. Those are the 4 that I think guarantee come. The next couple slots could be like Ting Lu, Iron Hands, Ursaluna, or Screamtail. I don't ever see Serena or Ampharos coming, and if they do, I'll be extremely surprised. Ting Lu has a bad matchup, but hazards are pretty good against me, so if he wants to value those hazards, I could definitely see Ting Lu coming. If Iron Hands comes, I really expect it to be Assault Vest for the Iron Jugulis. Ursaluna could come, but it loses to a lot of my top tier offensive threats. Guts AV does make some sense. He has a lot of AV Pokemon potentially for my Iron Jugulis, so it just kind of depends on what route he wants to go. And it does do a lot of damage, and it can come in on some of my more passive mons like Clefable specifically, but there is probably a better slot here just because of how much it loses to my top offensive threats like Great Tusk. And then maybe a Spadef Screamtail just because it's fast, it can encore my setup, but I think Screamtail probably is the least likely of the Pokemon I've named to come. And then of course, big Swalot. Swalot actually does have a pretty good chance to come. It does let in Great Tusk, but it has decent special attack with really good coverage, and it's a Fairy Resist in a matchup that he otherwise doesn't have a Fairy Resist. So do not be surprised if you see Swalot. I know I will not be. As for the team that we are bringing, the first Pokemon is Keegs the Clefable, named after the man himself. As far as I'm aware, Clefable is one of Keegan's favorite Pokemon. He made it very apparent that he wanted it in this draft, and we took it from him round 2 because I couldn't pass up on Great Tusk Clefable. I think that is just a crazy combination, and we're going to be more defensive set unfortunately this week. I think Clefable has to be unaware defensive just for the Baxcalibur. I had a couple different teams where I had like a Life Orb Magic Guard Clefable to do as much damage as possible, but obviously our speed tier is a little shallow in this matchup, and then something like Bax, if it ever gets a DD up or Swords Dance up with our archetype of team, with our balanced team, we have nothing we can do against it other than this unaware Clefable. So I felt very forced to run unaware Clefable. We're Stealth Rock because we actually are not bringing any other Pokemon that can rock really. We are bringing Great Tusk, I lied, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Great Tusk doesn't have the slots for Stealth Rock, but I very much value Stealth Rocks against a team that does not have removal. It gives us a lot of information like is Bax boots, is Gara boots, and those can be very crucial pieces of information. Where Wish and Protect, Wish into a very bulky team that we are bringing is going to be very important. Protect for something that we're going to talk about a little bit later on top of Leftovers Recovery and Wish, and then Moonblast because it's pretty unresisted into Keegan's team. We're 224 HP with 232 defense with a bold nature, 28 special attack, 4 special defense, and 20 speed. This lets us take maximum 62% from a 5 hit from Icicle Spear from a Jolly Baxcalibur. That sounds silly, but with Leftovers plus Protect, we can live 2 5 hits. So we can essentially live 10 hits from Icicle Spear if he is the loaded dice set. We can live 2 Hydros from a non-boosting item Grin, and then we went the rest into special attack. Yeah, it's only 4 special defense to live that, so I assumed why not. And I said we put the rest in special attack, but we went a little bit of speed for creeps on something like potentially the Iron Hands or Ursaluna, and then we went the rest in a special attack. Clefable is super important. It is here just to not lose to Baxcalibur, and there's still a possibility that we do lose to Baxcalibur because of the sheer strength of that Pokemon. Just Icicle crashing through us is very possible. He could be something like Weakness Policy, which doesn't matter because we're unaware, but if we ever let Clefable get chipped, we have to be very aware of how we play this Clefable because Baxcalibur can win the in-game so easily if we allow this Clefable to get chipped. So it's kind of got to stay in the back until the time is right. Our next one is going to be, Stinky the Weezing, where T-Spikes, Pain Split, Protect, and Clear Smog, a very passive set this week, but a set that I think does very well, much like the last time where we had Galarian Slowking guarantee lead T-Spike against Keegan's team that had no grounded poison. We're going to do the same this time if we do not see Swalot. If we see Swalot, we're not going to worry about it, but T-Spikes getting up against this specific team is going to be crucial. First and foremost, Ursaluna. That Pokemon has guts. It's going to probably be Flame Orb. If not, it could be AV, which is realistic. But if it is Flame Orb, us getting the T-Spike up prevents it from being burned and lets it take an additional 6% at the end of every turn, which seems silly, but it could be crucial. It also lets us know if Baxcalibur is going to be Boots or not. If it is not Boots, that residual is going to be massive on a potential setup sweeper and allow us to potentially put it in range of some priority that we do have in the back of our team. It lets us get residual on Greninja, which is super crucial. And it lets us get residual on a potential Gyarados. Gyarados, once it is Terra, if it is going to be a defensive pivot for our Iron Jugulis, like I am expecting, that residual on that Pokemon is going to be nice, assuming he is not Boots. Pain Split for longevity, Protect for Toxic Spike, extra residual damage, as well as Black Sludge recovery, and then we're Clear Smog to prevent setup on Baxcalibur, Iron Hands, Ting Lu, Ursaluna, Gyarados. The list goes on and on. Keegan's team is extremely setup oriented, and our our Cantonian Weezing is here to stop that. We're 184 HP, 228 defense with a bold nature, and 96 special defense. This lets us live a Life Orb +1 Jolly Baxcalibur Glade Rush, and then we put the rest into Spadef, and this almost lets us guarantee live a Specs Grin Hydro, so there isn't really a situation in which we get O-Code off of lead. There are situations in which we get taunted by the Greninja or we get taunted by the Gyarados, but if there's no Swallow, pretty much I'm going to lead this and click T-Spikes most of the time. This Pokemon's not really here to be a wall for anything. It can be a secondary check for Baxcalibur or whatever, but its primary purpose is going to be getting that T-Spike up. And he does have a spinner. He has Serena, but like I said, I think Serena is unbearably bad in this matchup. Next up, our team captain, Iron Jugulis, Mekaigon. We're going to be a Yachi Berry with Taunt, U-Turn, Hurricane, and Knockoff, a much more defensive set this week, but we are still rocking with Terra Flying because his flying resist is only going to be that Gyarados. I really debated Terra Poison again, but I think Terra Flying, just to make us stronger, is going to be super important. We're Yachi Berry because Baxcalibur Ice Shard can get out of hand, and it also allows us to live a Greninja Ice Beam. Taunt, super important. It allows us to taunt the Gyarados if he is a setup set, so it cannot beat us. It allows us to taunt a Baxcalibur if it is a setup set, so we cannot beat us. The whole theme of this team is not allowing his setup Pokemon to set up in front of us. We're U-Turn for momentum. We are Hurricane because Terra Flying Hurricane is almost unresisted, and we're Knockoff because whatever Pokemon he wants to switch into our Jugu is probably going to be a Soul Vest if it's not Gyarados, and if it's Gyarados, then we knock off his boots and we potentially put it in danger of being Toxic Spiked if he's not Rest Talk. We're 8 HP, 240 special attack, 64 special defense, and 196 speed, and we're actually able to go modest this week because of the way Keegan's speed tiers line up. We can outspeed the Baxcalibur if he is max speed Jolly. We live a Protein non-Life Orb Greninja Ice Beam. This is if our Yachi is broken, and this is because we still have the capacity to be full health after our Yachi, thanks to Clefable passing some fat wishes. Then we went the rest in max special attack and went modest, and this was mainly due to the fact that I couldn't find any Fizz Def counts that I like. We pretty much live what we want to live regardless. Maybe a Gyarados Terra Blast, I don't know. We could have EV'd to live a Gyarados Terra Blast, but it is what it is, man. I'm not regening the Pokemon at this point, so max special attack is going to make this Pokemon very difficult for Keegan to switch into. Next up, the win con is going to be Snitch, the Weavile once again. It's going to be a loaded dice, Swords Dance, Taunt, Ice Shard, and Icicle Spear Weavile. I love this set. This set is really good, but it is almost impossible to get a Swords Dance off against Keegan's team. We're really gonna have to play into it and try our best, man, but we do have a plan that I'll be able to talk about in a couple Pokemon. Swords Dance, hard to get off, but once we get to the +2, the game's pretty much over. Taunt, because things like Ting Lu that want to Whirlwind us, or Gyarados if we are in a position to where we lose the game if Gyarados DDs, or if Screamtail has the potential to Encore us. Taunting is going to be very crucial, and I almost went Trailblaze in that slot over the Taunt just to OHKO something like the Greninja, but Icicle Spear 5 hits almost guarantee OHKO's Greninja anyway, so I decided Ice Shard plus Icicle Spear into Bulky Water Gyarados, Bulky Water Greninja is going to be ideal. We're 8 HP, 208 attack, 72 defense, 80 split def, and 140 speed Jolly. We can creep a Greninja, creeping an Adamant Weavile. I almost ran Adamant, but I think it's worth it just to guarantee outspeed that Pokemon. We can live a Ting Lu Body Press to Reflect if that gives you any hints as to what the rest of our Pokemon are going to be. We can live a Specs Greninja Hydro Pump. This Pokemon can function as a breaker or as our win con. It can disrupt setup. I like this Pokemon overall, and I like the ability that we have on this team to have this Pokemon win in the in-game if we get everything set up perfectly, or just be a breaker and have strong priority in the back. Next up, we're a Fizz Def Rotom-Wash with Light Clay, only for Reflect because Keegan's team is extremely physical oriented. And then we have Foul Play to prevent the Baxcalibur from setting up in our face, Volt Switch for momentum, Hydro Pump specifically for that Ting Lu. Reflect is going to be crucial. We're a fast Reflect setter. We pretty much get a Reflect up in the face of anything except Baxcalibur, Screamtail, and Greninja. And this is also our Greninja check, by the way. We have 248 HP, 176 defense with a bold nature, 4 special attack, and 80 special defense. This just lets us live a +1 Bax Adamant Glaive Rush and 2 Life Orb Greninja Dark Pulses. If we get up a Reflect for Weavile, Weavile has the capability to set up in most Pokemon's faces that are not it's kind of just Iron Hands, I'll be honest. Maybe Ursaluna as well. I didn't check the calcs, to be honest. But Weavile was able to set up in a lot of different Pokemon's faces. It can even taunt the Screamtail, make it useless against us, Swords Dance, and wrap that shit up, boys. And also, if we see Swallow, I think Rotom is going to be our lead. And then lastly, the Pokemon that I love building with. I think this Pokemon's so fun to build with. And I forgot I had him once before this season, to be honest. I don't know why I didn't like him this much when I used him before, but we have Great Tusk with the Booster Energy Defense, Taunt, Rapid Spin, Body Press, and Earthquake. This set is specifically to to beat a Houndstone that wants to beat us. We're fast with Taunt specifically to prevent the Gyarados from setting up, because that could be detrimental and potentially cost us the game, so we don't want that to happen. Gyarados cannot set up on any Pokemon on our team except for the Clefable, in which it doesn't really get anywhere because we're unaware, so that doesn't really matter. Rapid Spin is crucial. Keegan's team really relies on Hazard Stack to do damage to a lot of our Pokemon, so if we can Rapid Spin that away, yeah, it doesn't matter. Body Press does massive damage to things like Bax, Grin, Ting Lu, good neutral damage to Iron Hands, and Ursaluna is super effective against, I forgot, I didn't see that Pokemon. And then we have Earthquake, because Earthquake bypasses Fluffy, and it allows us to hit like a Terra Electric Gyarados as well as Iron Hands. And I like Booster Defense because it allows Houndstone to not be able to Poltergeist us. So this Pokemon really is here to sit in front of Houndstone. Even if we burn our booster energy early, that is fine. We can take a little bit too much damage from a potential play rough from the Houndstone, so we have to be wary about that. But overall, this set should do really well. 72 HP, 112 attack, 116 defense, and 208 speed jolly. This allows us to guarantee outspeed the Gyarados. We guarantee get our booster defense boost. We had enough attack to OHKO something with Earthquake. I think it was the Terra Electric Gyarados. I forgot to write it down for some reason. Then we went the rest in the HP, and that is going to be the team, boys. It is a very bulky team. We have to kind of outlast Keegan here and not let his threats get set up before our Weavile has the potential to get set up into a good position. Keegan's team is scary. Baxcalibur can get out of hand fast, but I'm hoping our Ice type is able to do the job. If we see Swallout, we're going to lead Rotom-Wash probably. If we don't see Swallout, we're going to lead Weezing. We're going to get T-Spikes up and we're going to have a good time. And if we see Serena, we're going to call Keegan stupid. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for all the support on the channel. Check out all the GBU coaches down below. Join the GBU server and check out the watch along streams every single Sunday. Thank you guys so much for watching. And for now, guys, this has been John Jr. signing off.